Welcome back to the Metabolic Compass podcast, where we help you recalibrate your biology and rediscover your direction. I'm your host, Brandon Soika, and today we're talking about something that affects nearly everyone, but almost no one talks about it in the right way. Burnout, brain fog, mood swings, not just feeling off, but feeling like you're no longer yourself. If you've ever snapped at someone you care about and didn't know why, if you've ever walked into a room and forgotten what you were doing, if your patience is short, your focus is cloudier, and your emotions feel like a roller coaster, then this episode is for you. Because here's what you need to know. These symptoms aren't just mental, they're directional. Your body is signaling that something is drifting, not because you're failing, but because your biology is adapting. And when we understand which domain is drifting, we can finally stop chasing symptoms and start realigning the signal. Today, we're going to walk through how each compass direction, nurture, energize, strengthen, and withdraw, can show up as emotional and cognitive changes. By the end, not only will you know what to do next, you'll leave with a daily tool you can start using immediately to track your emotional drift. So let's start with a sentence that almost every client has said to me at some point, and maybe you've said this too. I just don't feel like myself anymore. And it's hard to explain to people who aren't living it. Your labs might be normal. You might look fine on paper. You might even be doing everything right, eating clean, exercise, and sleeping 8 hours. But something is still off. You can't focus like you used to. Little things set you off. Your mood swings catch you off guard. And no matter how much you rest, you still wake up tired. If that sounds familiar, this episode isn't going to give you just empathy. It's going to give you a map. Here's another one of those modern health lies. If you feel off, it must be in your head. But here's the truth. Your emotional state is a biological state. Mood, focus, resilience, and even optimism, they're all metabolic processes. When your gut is inflamed, when your mitochondria are sputtering, when your liver is overwhelmed, or your circadian rhythm is scrambled, you don't just get fatigue. You get emotional drift. You feel scattered, unmotivated, overwhelmed by small things, or disconnected from things that used to light you up. And the thing is, most people never connect the dots. So let me give you a different way to think about this. Imagine your body as a compass. When you drift in the direction of nurture, energize, strengthen, or withdraw, your feelings change long before your blood work does. Nurture drift, you'll feel anxious, overstimulated, or socially withdrawn. Energize drift, you'll feel flat, foggy, or reactive, like your brain has no buffer. Strengthen drift, you may feel unmotivated, emotionally numb, or stuck in low mood. Withdraw drift, you'll swing from overstimulation to total shutdown, often tied to sleep collapse or overload. These aren't psychological disorders, they're directional imbalances. And the sooner you can name the pattern, the sooner you can respond with precision, not panic. So here's a simple takeaway to start today. Track your emotional energy drift for 7 days. Every evening, score yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 for 3 things. 1. Emotional reactivity. Were you easily triggered or able to stay calm? 2. Mental clarity. Did you feel clear-headed or foggy today? 3. Mood stability. Did your emotions feel steady or all over the place? That's it. Just 3 scores. After a week, you'll start to notice patterns. Do you crash after skipping lunch? Are you more reactive after poor sleep? Do late night screens spike your reactivity the next day? This isn't about perfection, it's about pattern recognition. And once you start seeing your emotions as signals, you'll stop blaming yourself for every dip and drift and start adjusting your inputs instead. So in the next segment, we'll break down why mood and mental clarity are so deeply tied to metabolism and why most psychological symptoms are actually biological events upstream. If you've ever wondered why no amount of therapy, meditation, or mindset work seems to stick when you're exhausted or inflamed, we're about to connect the dots. If your mood is off, it's a mindset problem. If you're burned out, you just need better time management. If your brain is foggy, you're probably just not trying hard enough. You probably heard these, or worse, told them to yourself. But here's the truth. Your mood is built on molecules. Your clarity is built on cellular energy. And your emotions are shaped by inputs, not just intentions. This isn't about blame, it's about biology. Let's start with something simple: neurotransmitters. These are the chemical messengers that shape how you think, feel, and respond. Serotonin helps regulate mood, anxiety, and social behavior. Dopamine drives motivation, focus, and reward seeking. GABA calms the brain, lowers reactivity, and promotes sleep. Norepinephrine increases alertness and readiness. Acetylcholine governs learning, memory, and processing speed. But these neurotransmitters don't float around in a magic cloud. They're made from amino acids, vitamins, minerals, and cofactors in a terrain that must be ready to receive and regulate them. For example, tryptophan becomes serotonin, but only if it crosses the blood-brain barrier and isn't hijacked by inflammation. Tyrosine becomes dopamine, but only if your mitochondria have the redox balance to support it. GABA levels depend on butyrate, B6, and microbial signals from the gut. So if your gut is inflamed, your liver is sluggish, or your energy metabolism is compromised, your brain simply can't build or balance your emotional state. It's not a psychological resistance, it's physiological interference. Here's the simple equation I can give you. Stable mood equals clean energy plus clear signals. Let's break that down. Clean energy means your mitochondria are producing steady ATP, your redox balance is intact, and your cells have what they need to function under pressure. When this system is off, your nervous system becomes reactive, even to small trigger. Clear signals means your gut isn't inflaming your brain, your liver is clearing excess estrogens or histamine, and your neurotransmitters are being made and broken down in rhythm. When both energy and signal clarity break down, you get what most people call irritability, anxiety, emotional instability, brain fog, low motivation, mental fatigue, or unexplained sadness. But these are just the outputs of a system that's trying to tell you something upstream isn't working. Let me give you an example. Let's say someone comes into the clinic saying, "I'm snapping at my kids, I cry at random, can't focus, and I'm exhausted all the time." They've tried meditation, they've tried mindset work, they've tried journaling and breath work and gratitude, and none of it sticks. What we often find is this: their gut barrier is compromised. Their stool test shows low short-chain fatty acids and microbial imbalance. Their labs show poor methylation, high homocysteine, and low magnesium. And their mitochondrial markers are suppressed, meaning they're running on fumes. Of course, their emotions are swinging. Of course, their brain is offline. You can't regulate your mind if your biology isn't safe, clean, and supported. Here's one more metaphor to land this home. We all agree that electricity is vital. It powers everything in our homes. But electricity without wiring? It's dangerous, chaotic, destructive. Your brain and mood are the same way. Energy alone isn't enough. You need clean energy, wired correctly, directed with purpose. Otherwise, it sparks, it shorts out, and it makes everything feel unpredictable. Now that we understand why emotional symptoms are metabolic, we're going to walk through exactly how each compass drift shapes these symptoms. Because the way anxiety shows up in nurture drift is very different from how depression shows up in strengthened drift, or how hypersensitivity shows up in withdrawal. Next, we'll talk about the nurture drift when your biology doesn't feel safe. Let's talk about the first and most foundational drift pattern, the one your biology checks before it lets you feel stable, energized, or emotionally resilient. It's called nurture drift. And it happens when your body's safety systems, your gut, your immune system, and your liver, can no longer tell the difference between threat and normal life. You feel on edge even when there's nothing wrong. You feel irritated by small things. You feel socially overwhelmed even around people you love. That's not personality. That's not failure. That's a drift. The nurture domain is all about baseline safety. When this domain is regulated, you feel calm but alert, grounded, emotionally available, and present, and able to digest both food and experiences. But when this domain drifts, often due to gut inflammation, leaky gut, histamine overload, or immune confusion, your brain starts receiving the wrong message. We're not safe right now. In your limbic system, the emotional alarm center in your brain goes into overdrive. You become easily startled, hypervigilant, emotionally reactive, stuck in looping thoughts, overwhelmed by normal tasks. Even your sensory system becomes hypersensitive. Sounds feel louder, textures feel scratchier, people feel too close, and none of this is in your head. It's in your gut-brain immune triangle. Let's make this simple. You have more immune cells in your gut than anywhere else in your body, and your gut talks directly to your brain through the vagus nerve, a biological information highway that carries updates about your inner world. When your gut is inflamed or your microbiome is imbalanced, or your intestinal lining is damaged, the signals going up that nerve are not soothing. They're signals of danger. What does your brain do with those? It changes your mood, changes your behavior. It increases your anxiety and shortens your fuse because it thinks something bad is about to happen. Emotional instability becomes your brain's way of matching the terrain. Inflammation isn't just about swelling or pain. It's a global signal that changes your entire neurochemistry. When inflammation rises, your body diverts tryptophan away from serotonin, increases cortisol and adrenaline output, disrupts neurotransmitter recycling, elevates histamine, which amplifies reactivity, impairs liver clearance, leading to hormone imbalance and mood swings. It's no wonder that in nurture drift, you feel anxious for no reason, overwhelmed by your to-do list, emotionally raw, distrustful or withdrawn, or hypersensitive to food, sound, light, or people. And because these symptoms are so internal, it's easy to blame yourself. But again, this isn't a personality trait. It's your body trying to match what it's perceiving. So if this sounds like you, the goal isn't to power through, it's to rebuild a baseline of internal safety. That starts with supporting gut lining integrity, glutamine, immunoglobulins, butyrate, removing high inflammatory triggers, especially food intolerances and alcohol, restoring rhythm and predictability in meals and sleep, calming the nervous system through breath, gentle movement, and structured rest, supporting liver and bile flow, bitter herbs, taurine, choline. And most importantly, stop stacking stress, even good stress, on a system that's still trying to find its footing. Let me give you a quick story. A client came in feeling crazy. She said her mood flipped every hour. She couldn't handle noise, her kids' questions triggered rage, and she was crying every night. Her doctor offered antidepressants, but we tested her gut and found elevated calprotectin, which means inflammation, high zonulin, leaky gut, low butyrate producing bacteria, impaired liver enzymes, and we focused on restoring her gut barrier, calming her immune system, and giving her nervous system a place to land. 4 weeks later, finally feel like myself again. That's not magic, that's directional biology. So next up, we'll explore Energize drift. What happens when your brain is still on, but your mitochondria are fading fast? It's when burnout turns into flatline. When your mind still wants to go, but your body says no. You ever feel like your brain is awake, but also kind of dead inside? Like you're going through the motions, you can do the tasks, say the words, but it feels like someone unplugged your power source. That's Energize drift. It's when your biology is still on the clock, but running on fumes. Your nervous system is trying to keep up appearances, but your mitochondria can't fuel the performance anymore. It's not anxious, you're flat. You're not sleepy, you're wired but tired. You're not emotional, you're detached. If that's you, you're like living in the land of Energize drift. So let's bring it back to the basics. Your mitochondria are the organelles inside your cells that generate energy. They make ATP the universal energy currency of the body. When they're working well, everything feels charged. You recover faster, think faster, regulate better. But when they're taxed, or worse, inflamed, you start seeing mental and emotional fatigue. You don't just feel tired in your muscles, you feel tired in your mind because energy production affects emotional regulation too. Here's how energized drift often shows up: brain fog that isn't solved by caffeine, low resilience, you bounce back slower from stress, mood flatness, you're not sad, but you're definitely not joyful, cognitive fatigue, your brain taps out after a few hours, unstable blood sugar, you crash mid afternoon, even with food, sleep that's not restorative, you're asleep for 8 hours, but still wake up tired. You might also feel restless but unmotivated. You find yourself multitasking obsessively to avoid that heavy fatigue underneath. Another common cause of energized drift: redox imbalance, when your body can't manage oxidative stress efficiently. Every time your mitochondria make energy, they also create reactive oxygen species, tiny sparks of exhaust. If your antioxidant systems like glutathione or superoxide dismutase can't keep up, you get mitochondria friction. And that shows up as mental exhaustion, irritability, and emotional fragility. It's not that you're doing too little, it's that you're trying to do too much on a compromised battery. Another key symptom of an energized drift: blunted dopamine tone. Dopamine is your motivational chemical. It's what gives you that spark to pursue, initiate, and complete tasks. But dopamine synthesis requires iron, vitamin B6, magnesium, active methylation, and healthy mitochondria. If you're inflamed, underfueled, or overstressed, you start producing less dopamine and breaking it down too fast. That's why you may feel emotionally dull, disengaged from things you used to love, unmotivated even though your to-do list is full, unable to get started, or finish anything. This isn't laziness. This is neurochemical burnout. Common triggers of energized drift are overtraining or under recovery, high caffeine and low nutrient intake, skewed sleep-wake cycles, especially shift work or blue light at night, chronic low blood sugar events, intermittent fasting gone too far, mold exposure, viral reactivation, or stealth infections, micronutrient deficiencies, especially B vitamins, CoQ10, and magnesium. So when we talk about burnout, we're not talking about just feeling tired. We're talking about a system-wide failure to regenerate energy fast enough to keep up with life. And your emotions pay the price. So what helps? To rebuild your spark, you have to restore your circadian anchors: light in the morning, darkness at night. Refeed mitochondria with key nutrients like CoQ10, alpha-lipoic acid, carnitine, and NAD+ precursors. Reduce oxidative load through sleep, redox balancing foods, and breathing practices. Stabilize blood sugar with protein-rich meals, not carb-only snacks. Add slow, low-resistance movement to rebuild metabolic flexibility. This is not about revving harder. It's about recharging smarter. So next, we'll explore strength and drift, what happens when your body starts falling behind in repair and your emotional floor drops out. If you've ever felt like you're stuck in a fog of sadness, numbness, or disconnection, and nothing fixes it, we're going to show you why your biology might be too depleted to catch you. Sometimes the mood issues aren't dramatic. They're not panic attacks or breakdowns or bursts of rage. They're quieter than that. They sneak in like fog and settle on everything. You lose your drive, your motivation drops, nothing excites you. You go through the motions and then feel really guilty for feeling more. This is strength and drift. And unlike nurture or energize, which are driven by reactivity and volatility, strength and drift shows up as an emotional depletion. You're not overwhelmed, you're not underpowered. The strengthened domain governs tissue repair, structural integrity, hormone stability, and resilience and capacity to rebuild. This is the domain of anabolism, your body's ability to renew itself after stress or breakdown. When this domain is regulated, you feel grounded, energized after rest, emotionally steady, motivated, and recovered after stress or exertion. But when the system drifts, You don't bounce back. You don't feel repaired. You feel like the tank is always empty no matter how long you rest. This drift often includes low-grade depression or emotional flatness, lack of motivation, low libido, blunted reward response, even to things you love, insomnia with early waking at 3 to 5 a.m., poor recovery from exercise or illness, loss of muscle tone, or physical weakness. It can also manifest as that feeling of giving up before you begin. You don't even want to try because the idea of rebuilding is too heavy. And it's not mental, it's biological fatigue due to repair deficit. One of the biggest drivers of strength and drift is hormonal instability, especially around cortisol, DHEA, estrogen and progesterone, testosterone, and thyroid hormones. When these levels decline or become unbalanced, you start losing the emotional buffer that normally helps you navigate life. For example, low testosterone equals low drive, irritability, and flat mood. Low estrogen equals mood swings, anxiety, and sleep disruption. Low thyroid equals depression, fatigue, and cognitive slowdown. Hormones are not optional. They're not vanity metrics. They are the chemical translators of resilience. Another key player here is adrenal function. Many people in strength and drift have been in overdrive for years, and eventually their body just stops responding. What begins as high cortisol and stimulation ends as cortisol blunting, where the system no longer rises to the occasion. You don't get the energy bump after coffee. You don't feel alert in the morning. You can't push through workouts or stress, and your emotions get heavier because your physiology can't hold the weight anymore. This is what people call burnout, but most people don't realize it's repair fatigue. This isn't fixed by pushing harder. To recover from strength and drift, you have to prioritize deep sleep and circadian restoration. Use adaptogens strategically, not just stimulants. Rebuild muscle tissue with resistance training and adequate protein, 30 grams plus per meal. Support hormone pathways with micronutrients like zinc, vitamin B6, magnesium, and omega-3s. Reduce catabolic signals like over-fasting, over-exercising, or under-eating. Create emotional wins through small, achievable goals because dopamine responds to completion, not perfection. Here's a quick example. One of my clients was a high-performing executive, worked out daily, ate clean, slept 7 hours, but she felt empty. Nothing excited her anymore. Her periods were irregular, she'd lost muscle, and her brain felt like it was covered in fog. Her hormones tanked. Her muscle mass down. Her nutrient markers depleted. But within 6 weeks of aligning to strengthen principles, more protein, fewer stressors, strategic lifting, micronutrient repletion, her drive returned. I feel like I can trust my body again. That's the goal, not to force strength, but to rebuild it from the inside out. Next, we explore the final drift domain, withdrawal. This is what happens when your internal rhythm collapses. Your cells are too overloaded to clean house, and your emotions swing wildly because the system can't regulate anymore. If your symptoms are chaotic, extreme, or inconsistent, this one's for you. By now you've seen how each domain of your biology sends signals long before disease ever sets in. But there's one type of drift that doesn't always feel like a slow fade. It feels like chaos, whiplash, extreme shifts. You're hyperproductive one day, then you can't get out of bed the next. You feel clear for a few hours, then overwhelmed by light, noise, or decisions. Your moods flip fast, your energy is unpredictable, and no amount of planning seems to bring stability. This is withdrawal drift, the final direction of the metabolic compass. And it shows up when your body's internal rhythms break down and your detox and cellular cleanup systems get overwhelmed. Withdrawal is all about elimination, clearance, and recalibration. It includes autophagy, your body's internal self-cleaning, circadian rhythms, your internal clock, liver detoxification, especially phase 1 and 2 clearance, lymphatic and glymphatic flow, your body's waste transport systems. When withdrawal is working well, you feel clear-headed, regulated, in sync with your environment, able to downshift and rest, and emotionally spacious and centered. But when it drifts, You become overloaded, emotionally erratic, and disconnected from your natural rhythms. Withdrawal drift isn't just about fatigue, it's about erratic energy and emotion. Common signs include mood swings that feel extreme or unpredictable, highly emotional mornings or evenings, trouble falling asleep even when tired, sensitivity to noise, light, or touch, cognitive overwhelm, feeling like everything is too much, hormonal swings, especially around ovulation and menstruation, detox symptoms after certain foods or supplements. You may even feel hungover from emotional or sensory experiences. Like your system can't process things fast enough, and you're left swimming in the aftershocks without elimination. Your brain and body run on timing. Light food, movement, and rest all act as zeitgebers, time cues that help regulate your circadian rhythm. But modern life blunts those cues. Artificial light at night, inconsistent sleep-wake cycles, skipping breakfast or eating late, traveling across time zones, shift work. As your rhythm unravels, so does your emotional resilience. You might wake up wired at 3 a.m. and crash by 2 p.m. You might feel anxious at dusk and hopeless at dawn. That's biological time desynchronization, and it's a major source of withdrawal drift. Autophagy is your body's way of recycling damaged cells, proteins, and organelles. It's essential not just for physical health, but for mental clarity and emotional flexibility. When autophagy is suppressed due to overfeeding, stress, or toxin exposure, you don't just accumulate physical waste, you accumulate emotional and sensory waste too. You feel foggy, cluttered, unresolved, stuck in emotional loops. That's not spiritual, it's cellular. Your body can't reset because the cleanup crew is on strike. Common triggers of withdrawal drift include blue light exposure after sunset, late meals or erratic eating, excessive alcohol or medications taxing liver function, mold or environmental toxins, chronic sleep deprivation, under recovery from stress or exertion, and skipping rest days or structured pauses. So when you feel like your emotions are swinging without warning, it's often not mood disorder, it's circadian and detox imbalance. And those can be realigned. So what helps? Establish a strict circadian routine, light exposure, meal timing, and screen curfews. Use gentle fasting windows, 12 to 14 hours overnight, to stimulate autophagy. Support detox with nutrients like glycine and acetylcysteine, taurine, and glutathione precursors. Use sleep hygiene rituals, magnesium, cooling body temp, cutting screens at least 90 minutes before bed. Reestablish grounding practices, time in nature, gentle movement, structured rest blocks. Get emotional clutter out of your system. Talk, journal, sweat, cry, process. This is where the reset happens, but only when your system is allowed to unplug, clear, and recalibrate. One last reminder, if your emotions feel out of sync with your reality, withdrawal drift is likely behind it. It doesn't mean you're broken, it means your body has lost track of time and it's trying to find rhythm again. So, in our final segment, we'll put it all together. You'll learn how to recognize which drift is showing up in your symptoms, how to track your pattern over time, and what to do right if you're feeling emotionally off. We'll also share a link to take the drift quiz so you can stop guessing and start realigning. So now you've seen the whole map. Burnout, brain fog, mood swings. Not random, not mental weakness, but directional drifts, clear, trackable shifts in the systems that fuel and stabilize your biology. So let's bring it all home. Start with this. Which drift sounds most like you right now? Do you feel anxious, on edge, or hypersensitive to stimulation? That's nurture drift. Do you feel flat, foggy, or emotionally unmotivated? That's energize drift. Do you feel numb, depleted, or like the tank is always empty? That's strengthen drift. Or do your moods swing wildly, or your sleep and rhythm feel totally unpredictable? That's withdrawal drift. You may have touches of all four. but usually one direction is drifting more than the others. Naming it gives you power because once you know where you're drifting, you can respond with precision, not just more self-help. So here's your real-world do-it-today tool. Start a 5-minute nightly drift journal. Each night, write down 1. What you felt emotionally today. Short-tempered, calm, dull, anxious, weepy, overwhelmed, etc. What you did or didn't do. Skipped meals, poor sleep, overstimulated, hard workout. What you needed but didn't get. Quiet, connection, movement, protein, rest. Do this for 1 week. And at the end of 7 days, look back and circle the most common words. Chances are you'll start to see your dominant drift direction emerge. This isn't just introspection, it's directional decoding. Your biology leaves breadcrumbs every single day. You just need a moment of stillness to notice them. Now, if you want help figuring it out or want a shortcut to clarity, take the drift quiz. You can go to metaboliccompass.com/quiz. It's free, takes just a few minutes, and will tell you which direction is drifting most, what symptoms are linked to that drift, and how to start resetting your biology right now. After the quiz, you'll get a 2-week personalized drift recalibration series in your inbox. So you're not just getting insights, you're getting actionable step-by-step support tailored to your biology. But here's what I want you to take with you. Your burnout is not a flaw. Your fog is not a failure. Your mood swings are not madness. They're all messages. Your body is telling you, I've drifted from alignment. I need a different signal. When you shift from chasing symptoms to realigning direction, everything starts to make more sense. You stop blaming yourself. You start responding with care, structure, and precision. This is how we build real resilience, not by suppressing symptoms, but by learning to read them as signals from your internal compass. On the next episode, which episode 11 is a big one, it's called, Is it hormones or is it cellular exhaustion? If you've ever wondered whether your mood swings, low libido, irregular cycle, or emotional volatility are hormone-related or something deeper, we're going to unpack the difference between hormonal imbalance and mitochondrial collapse. We'll also explore why most hormone replacement protocols don't work unless your cellular systems are recalibrated first. It's not just about testing estrogen or testosterone. It's about understanding what drives hormone regulation in the first place. See you on the next time on the Metabolic Compass podcast. You've been listening to the Metabolic Compass podcast, where we bridge cutting-edge science with real-life application to help you reclaim your health one directional shift at a time. To learn more, visit us at www.themetaboliccompass.com or follow us on Instagram and TikTok at The Metabolic Compass. And if you haven't already, leave a review. It helps others find their way back to alignment too. Recalibrate your biology, rediscover your direction.